The financial information page on a bursary application is one of the most critical pages you will fill in. It is important that you accurately reflect your expenses and resources so you can be properly assessed. On various pages in the bursary application, you will notice small question marks next to text. These are here to help clarify the information that is being asked. Simply hover your mouse over the question mark and the hidden text will appear. To begin this page, start under the Study Period Expenses section. This section is looking for information for the entire academic year. These expenses and resources are typically one-time amounts. Enter your total tuition and fee amounts for the full academic year. You can check your fees in your online services for students. Then you can put your total cost for your books and supplies in for the year. Notice now that I have entered in tuition, fees, books, and supplies. The Education Expenses box has automatically calculated the total study period expenses. From here, move over to the Study Period Resources section. Enter the total amount of your savings as of September 1st. Your savings should include summer earnings that you will use to pay for school. Next, enter any scholarships, bursaries, or awards that you currently know you will be receiving throughout the current academic year. This includes anything internal or external to CUE. The scholarship section is not meant for your grant funding. You have the opportunity to record your student loan and student grants in the section below. If you're unsure of your government student loan and grant funding amounts, log into your provincial government student loan account and review your student award letter. Add any amounts that say loan for the current academic year and put that into the loan section. Next, add any amounts that say grants and put that into the grants section. If you're applying for loans and grants on a term-by-term basis, you will need to double your amounts to account for the entire academic year. The next two sections are for you to put in any sponsorship amount, parental contributions, or RESPs for the current academic year. Now that your study period resources have been entered, the Education Resources section C has been totaled. Moving down, the Monthly Expenses section is the area where you will enter your expenses and income on a monthly basis. You will start by checking off your living status. Make sure your selection is based on your living status, not the amounts you see per month next to each status. In this example, I will say that I am single and pay rent. On the right-hand side, enter in the following categories showing your earnings on a monthly basis. If you work a part-time job that pays you twice per month, simply take the amount of one of your paychecks and double it. Below, you are now able to list any additional monthly expenses you may have for the current academic year that are not included in the budgets above. This would include things like medical prescriptions or dental or optical expenses that are not covered under insurance. If you pay for childcare, you can enter the monthly amount you pay after subsidy. The Other Amount section is for any allowable expenses such as special diets like celiacs or equipment related to participation on a CUE sports team. Do not include car payments, car insurance, internet, phone, bills, animal care, or food amounts, as those amounts are covered in your monthly expense section above. It's important to note that if you enter any information in the additional monthly expense section, you must upload a copy of your receipts at the end of this application. The receipts must be from this current academic year, have your first and last name on it, and be dated. Now that you have entered all of your expense and resource information, you will notice the calculator section of the page will have automatically calculated your total expenses minus your total resources. This is your financial need. If your resources exceed your expenses, the form will ask you to explain why you need a bursary. If your expenses exceed your resources, it will ask you to give a brief explanation of how you plan to cover the shortfall. Using the information I provided above, this form is telling me that I have a financial need of $3,099, or in other words, I do not have enough resources to cover my expenses, and I will be $3,099 short this academic year. For this example, I'm going to type in that I plan on working more hours to meet my shortfall. However, when you're writing in this text box, make sure to explain your plan in detail. Just keep in mind that the text box is limited to 300 characters. Stating that you are relying on a bursary to cover your shortfall is not a solid plan, as bursaries are never guaranteed. Lastly, there are a few sections left for you to complete. Enter any assets you have under the Other Assets section, then answer the questions about your status. If you are single, do not have children, and are less than 23 years old, the Parental Income Level section will populate. Go to the number of people in your family and find the box that corresponds to your parents' gross income for the previous year. As an example, I have a family of 5. I have 2 parents, myself, and 2 siblings. One of my siblings is 15, and the other is 22, but not attending full-time post-secondary. As you will see, when you hover over the number of people in your family, it states you can only consider children or siblings that are between the ages of 0 to 17, or between 18 to 22 if they are attending full-time post-secondary. Since my 22-year-old sibling is not attending post-secondary, I cannot consider them in this calculation. Therefore, the number of people in my family is 4. I then look over to see what checkbox correlates to my parents' gross income. I will say here that my parents make less than $117,021 combined. Then down below, I'll put the number of children attending post-secondary as 1, as I am the only person in my family attending post-secondary. From here, make sure to click Save and Continue, so the application saves all of the important information you have just filled in.